Okay, I'm going to continue painting some wolves. I think we're going to add one more wolf right in this general area. I got two facing that way. I want another one facing in just to kind of bring the picture together. So what I'm going to do is I want to outline my wolf first. I've got a little liner brush here. It's a number 1 liner brush, if you can see that. First thing I'm going to do is take a little linseed oil, a little bit of burnt umber, and a little bit of phthalo blue. And we'll go in here and see if we can outline this wolf. Now this one I want a little bit closer in the foreground, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger. So we'll start with his head. And whatever reference photo you get, I'm just kind of trying to outline where my wolf's going, the features and everything on the wolf. His nose is going to be about right there. Don't worry about the rest of his face later. I just kind of want to get the rough outline right now. Now when my outline goes over a darker area, I'll just add a little bit of white to that so I can see it show up like over that shadow. Now the legs on the wolf have white fur on them, but I'm going to go ahead and outline them dark so I can see them, and then later I'll adjust accordingly. Now this one's closer, so I want to see the paws of the wolf on top of the snow. So I'll kind of rough them in a little bit right now. Remember what I said in the video before, it's kind of a tendency to make the legs too thick, so keep them skinny, because you can always, if they look too skinny, you can always make them thicker later. It's easier to make them thicker than reduce the size. Okay. painting wildlife, it's important to get all these details right, because if you get the body proportions wrong or anything like that, somebody's definitely going to say something. And I've gone back and seen some of my older paintings and actually caught some of my mistakes that I didn't see while I was actually painting them. So it's a learning process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's basically a life. It takes a lifetime to learn how to paint, which is okay, because if I quit learning, then it gets kind of boring. And I want a tail back here. Something like that. Alright. Now that I got it outlined, I kind of want to figure out where the nose and the eyes are going on that wolf, so I get that portion of it looking right. Okay. Now we're going to start filling in smaller details, like where some of the hair goes, stuff like that. So this wolf has got darker hair up here on its forehead. So I'm just going to kind of, and while I'm doing this, I want to fuzz out that outline area. I don't want a hard line there. That was just to kind of guide me of where everything goes. So now I'm going to fuzz it out. I'm taking burnt umber here. And after looking at it, I think my top of my forehead needs to go up a little higher, so I'm going to take that up a little higher. Start making adjustments here too. Got a little bit of darker fur coming down the bridge of its snout. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of phthalo blue to that brown. Looks like it's got darker hair kind of coming down like this. Kind of some shaggier, nappier fur. Fill in them ears a little bit. Now I can start kind of using this fur to show the shape of its shoulder. Basically, wherever you see dark, you're just kind of blocking in the dark. And I'm using a side stroke in the direction of the fur. And not filling it in completely because the dark fur is kind of intermingled with some white fur. So not all of it is, it's not just like a big block of dark, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Let me wash that out. I'm going to switch to a very small dagger brush. We're going to try this one here. It's number 3 dagger brush. Okay, I'm going to start adding in some of the white. Now, we don't want pure white, so I'm going to dull it down just a little with phthalo blue and burnt umber. So it's a gray, but it's a real light gray. That's a little bit too blue, so I'm going to put a little bit more brown in it. Okay, we're going to try that. Now I'm going to go start blocking in the lighter areas. It's got a little lighter fur, a little bit more white there. There we go. Lighter fur around the face, up above the eyes. And I also don't want, after we're done with this, we might go back in with a wash and darken these wolves. I just want to get the color right on them. And then I might wash a shadow over them because they're obviously going to be backlit because of that moon. So they're not going to be so bright on the side that we're seeing. So the key is I'm gonna paint them like you can see them real well, and then I'll go back and add washes to dull it down as much as I want to get the effect that I want. Okay, these legs have some pretty white fur on them. This leg's got a little bit of white fur intermingled with it. And a lot of shaggy white fur on its belly there. Back leg. just because it's underneath him. Kind of like that. Okay, and then the tail. Now, I'm going to go back in with my liner brush, the number 1. Because that other brush is a little bit too big to get inside the ears. I'm going to go put some of that, and that's a little bit too light. Dull it down a little bit. I'm going to put some of that in white fur that's inside the ears. Kind of swirls around in there. Then there's kind of flecks of lighter fur on its forehead, kind of intermingled with that darker fur. I might have missed this leg when I was going through here before. Make sure it's filled out. Now I kind of want to shape the eyes just barely, a little bit better. I want to shape the side of his snout a little bit better, so I'll add a little bit brighter white here. A lot goes into it when you're painting animals, wildlife. A lot of back and forth and figuring things out. Now you see when I add like these brush strokes on this hair, I leave dark show through on the back side, so it looks like his hair is shaggy and it's almost like a landscape. He's got a lot going on back there in his hair. Alright, then his chin is somewhere there, about right there. Kind of want to define that. And under his nose and above his lips, I guess you'd say. So about right in here he's got a little dark patch, and then his mouth kind of comes around like that somewhat. Wolves are a fairly hard animal to paint. It takes a lot of layers to get them right. In fact, we're about ready to put on a little bit more here. We're about ready to let this dry, and we'll work on the trees a little bit while we're letting this dry. Kind of define his paw a little bit better there. Okay, I think we got a fairly good start on them. We got to let that dry because we're just mixing mud now. Now these trees, let's see, they're just right now they're just kind of silhouetted. I think we might want to go on the side where the light is and add a little bit of light to them. So I'm going to dip into, I've got a little bit of red on my palette, scarlet red to be exact. I'm going to dip into a little bit of that phthalo blue and the white to brighten it up. I want to go a little bit on the red side, I think. And let's see what happens when we just add a little bit of highlight. Now I'm not talking about the trees way back in the distance, I'm talking about these 5 here that are up front. I want to keep those way back in the distance. I just want to keep them shadowed and not much going on with them. In fact, I'm going to switch to this dagger brush, this number 3 dagger brush that we were using. There we go. It's almost just a little bit bigger than a sliver of light striking the sides, the moonlit side of them trees. Now you can decide which branches to go over and which branches to go around, because some of them will be, like this one here, I'm going to leave sticking out the side of the tree that's towards us. So I've got to go around it like that. But some of these I can go over over them, and that'll put them on the back side of the tree like that. That's just make that decision while you're doing it. then let's go over here to this big one in the foreground here. Like I said, this is on the red side, on the moonlit side. The highlight I'm putting on is towards the red tone. I mixed the phthalo blue in with it just to make it a little bit purple, but it's definitely on the red side. See that up and down stroke makes it look like tree bark. Leave, dark show through. That's what gives it the impression of tree bark. Now over here, this one, the highlight will be on the other side of the tree. Real quickly going through there and putting it in. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Since these are backlit, I don't want too much. I don't want to bring it around too much because it's backlit, so you're basically only going to see that sliver on there. Okay, and then this one over here. Oops, getting a little bit wild there. Alright, now on the other side of the tree I want a reflected highlight, so I want that towards the blue side. So I'm going to add, I'm going to do phthalo blue and white. Let's see how that looks. Put a little bit nice, cool, reflected light on this snowy picture. Kind of makes those trees come alive. Just hint at it, not too much. Okay, and then the opposite side on these trees over here. Getting too light again. Darken it up a little. For all you beginners, I bet you didn't know that you put more colors in a tree than just brown. Blues and reds and all kinds of stuff. You got to think about what's reflecting off of the tree, how the light plays on the tree, all sorts of things. All sorts of things to think about when painting. Okay, then this last tree here, getting a little bit too bright again. Keep it real soft and kind of dark and subdued. Now I even want to go into them trees and maybe play just a little bit of light on the trees. Let me see what I got on my palette here. I've got yellow green, that's one of the master touch colors. And I'm just going to take that same old dirty brush. It's got blue and everything else in it, but I don't care if that kind of gets into it because it needs to be a little bit dark anyway. And I just want to, where these pine needles and everything, I'm just going to kind of touch and hint at a little bit that you might be able to see a little bit of light striking that, not much. Just right out on the edges of them. I'm not even sure you can see that on the camera. Put some white in it just to lighten it up so you can see what I'm doing. Just like that. Not too much at all. You put too much in, it starts looking like daylight rather than Moonlight. That's about all I want to do on that one, just to give a hint. This foreground one here, maybe I'll put a couple of them in. I might even be in danger of putting too much color in this painting now, but you know, it's my painting, so I can do what I want. You're painting at home, you do what you want. Just on the edge. Not too much. Just like that. That's pretty. Alright, and then over here, this will be kind of shining upward into that. See, I'm not sure you can see. Yep. Let's. How about we try zooming out a little bit for that? Yeah, you can kind of see what I'm doing there, and then right here a little bit. Over on this side over here, that's about all I want on that. I want to add some down here in my foreground area. I want to start adding some knocked over trees, you know, limbs laying on the ground, stuff like that. Because you always see that in the woods, so we don't want to get away from that, you know. I got hair in my paintbrush here, gotta get out, okay. So, you know, maybe we got a couple of branches laying around back here. Put some more phthalo blue in there. I want to darken it up a little bit. It looks too brown to me. You always kind of see log piles or whatever. I would go back here behind that wolf, maybe in front of that one. Now, even when you lay a log on the ground, you got to remember what it's pointing towards. Is it going to lead your eye out of the picture or into the picture? So I definitely want all of my log logs that are laying on the ground leading back into the picture. But see how that starts to make that foreground look more interesting, more detail in it and everything. Kind of starts to frame that wolf that's out in the front too, which is going to have more detail on it than these two in the back. Somebody's got to be the star of the painting. You can't have 3 stars, just like you can't have 3 chiefs, you can't have 3 cooks in the kitchen. Somebody's got to be the boss. This wolf in front is going to be the boss, the star. The star of the show. And we might have some stuff laying around back here every once in a while. Maybe it's up against the bottom of that tree or something. Now see there, I kind of took one off that direction. I'm starting to I'm in danger of leading your eye away from everything in the middle of the painting, so I might bring another one that kind of does that, kind of like it's a little log pile or whatever you want to call it. So I'll bring another one over like that. Lead you back into the painting. And we'll add snow and stuff on top of these later. This one's going to have some branches and stuff sticking off of it. So is that one. Yeah, let's go ahead and try to put some snow in there, see what happens. I gotta put some more white out on the palette because all my white is kind of corrupted. Got other paint in it. We'll just see what happens here. Now I'm going to try straight white because my guess is it's just going to start mixing with the paint that's underneath and dull it down. Take it through here. This is going to have kind of a shadow over it because of that tree there that's casting a shadow. I'm not using linseed oil or anything, I'm just putting this on thick. Nice and thick so it kind of shows up. Letting it mix a little bit with that bottom so variations in the color happen. back here. There's some snow up on that. A little bit of snow running up on that little branch thing there maybe. Same with this one, that's kind of cool. Just little details like that that people notice. Makes your painting look special. Sets it apart. Also, don't forget, notice how I'm holding this at the end. Now when I paint these wolves and put detail on them, I'll get uptight close like this, but stuff like this, I hold it way out like that, and it frees me up, gives it a looser feel, which is always really nice in these paintings. People can almost feel what you are feeling when they look at your painting, and you want them to feel relaxed, I guess. Some paintings you don't, but for most of my paintings I want them to feel relaxed and have a peaceful feeling. Most nature paintings, that's probably how you want to make people feel. Not all of them. I do have a painting where I have a bear that's standing over an elk he killed and growling at some wolves that are coming and trying to steal his elk kill. Now, something like that, you know, it's not necessarily a peaceful feeling, it's just kind of a cool painting. But this painting here, we want kind of a peaceful flow to it. There we go. Now down on his feet there, I want to show some snow around his feet. I want some of this snow to start looking brighter in the middle, because that's where the moonlight's going to be hitting the strongest, and that's where I want everybody's eye looking anyway. So I'm just going to kind of show the bumps and everything in the snow. Maybe there's a little bit over here, you know, on the other side of that shadow. Not too much. Okay, we also want some shadow casting from that wolf. So, line it up with the moon. So I'm going to have some shadow in here. I kind of want to bump over his feet there. there's going to be some snow kind of piled up against these branches that fell down. That snow is going to kind of be in the shadows because it's on the backside, backside of the tree that's fallen down. See, that sets that tree down into the painting so you know what's going on. More snow piled up in here. This out to the edge so I can get to it. In case you haven't noticed, my setup's a little bit different today. I'm painting at my desk because putting these details in and everything's kind of hard over there where I usually film because of the angle I have to do it at. So I switched over here to the desk for putting these details on so I can show you a little bit better. Hopefully you're getting a better feel for what I do now. Okay, now kind of want to show some white snow to separate that shadow there. You can put this on fairly quick. So we gotta set that tree down in over there too. This one here. So we'll put some snow around where it's touching the ground. We'll come back in and put finishing highlights on a lot of this too. There's certain places that you want the moonlight to kind of sparkle on your snow. Kind of makes it look kind of cool. That's starting to look pretty good. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush. Well, let's try the number 4 dagger brush. This one's kind of flared out a little bit like a lot of my brushes, but that's okay for snow. I just kind of want to get this on a little bit quicker. So down here I'll that, and I want to smooth a little bit, some of these strokes out just a little bit. Probably want a little bit of brighter snow down here because that's coming down through there. The moonlight's going to hit that brighter right there. See, this is kind of in shadow right here because of that tree that's casting the shadow. Okay, the farther we get away from the middle, the darker, the little bit, want it just a hair darker. Want most of the bright stuff in the middle. Now over here I want to go fairly dark. Touch brighter, not too much brighter though. Okay, I'm going to take a drink of my iced tea and think about this for a second. I thought about it, now I'm going to do a few more brush strokes. Alright, I think we're at the point where we want to let this dry, because I definitely want to come in and add another layer of moonlight going over these trees, over these wolves. We'll probably take it over the front wolf too, because we're going to come back and add some more detail in that front wolf anyway, so it'll stand out. But yeah, so until then, paint out.